Here are the top stories for today, July 1, 2019. Lumad leaders seek the help of the international community against the abuses of the CPP-NPA. Malacanang says there is still hope to push for federalism within President Duterte's term. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency declares 5 municipalities in Aurora as drug-free. And the government continues its relentless drive to stop child labor.
Good day, I am Miguel Hill and welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The indigenous peoples who have fallen victim to the abuses of the communist movement in the Philippines are reaching out to the international community. While exposing the lies peddled by leftist groups against the government, the IP leaders urge others to listen to their side and heed their troubles. Benj Bondok has the story.
Strained by the attacks in insurgency-torn Philippines, some indigenous peoples' leaders on Saturday broke their silence on the atrocities of the CPP-NPA-NDF. In a speech before members of the Filipino community in New York City, Datu Bawan Hakoblanes of Mandaya tribes maintains the Lumad expressed their self-governance and empowerment under the flag of the Philippine government. He said it was the CPP-NPA that is attacking and violating the rights and communities of Lumad as they want to convert their ancestral domain into their guerrilla bases and turn their youth into child warriors. Christine Banugan, whose father and uncle were both murdered by members of the CPP-NPA, shared that she needed to step up not just to give her family the justice they deserve, but to lead her community in attaining peace and development. Joel Dahusay, an IP teacher and community organizer, lamented how the Salugpungan School has become an institution of deception, radicalization, and corruption of IP culture. Other IP leaders disclosed that after they were recruited to join the communist rebellion, they became first-hand witnesses of how oppression and deception strangled tribe members to death. The tribal leaders will make their way across the United States, from New York to Chicago, California, and Washington, D.C., to call on the international community to hear their plight back home. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondok.
The military offers to protect members of militant group Karapatan and its allies against the Communist Party of the Philippines' New People's Army. Major General Antonio Parlade Jr. of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict on Saturday stressed that the CPP-NPA has no qualms of attacking its own. He also noted how the CPP admitted to the purge of more than 950 of its cadres and placed the blame on the government so that it will be placed in a bad light. He urged militants to help expose the evil deeds of the communist movement and to uphold peace. Parlade welcomed the Court of Appeals ruling dismissing the writs of amparo and habeas data filed by Karapatan, Rural Missionaries of the Philippines, and Gabriela. The CA ruled that there is no substantial evidence to prove the extrajudicial killing, enforced disappearances, arbitrary arrest, malicious prosecutions, and defamations being claimed by the militant groups against the government. Malacanang called for stricter security protocol in Sulu in the wake of the twin blasts that killed 8 people and injured several others. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the presence of suicide bombers near a military post in Indanan town showed that there was a need to enhance security efforts. Several people were killed last Friday, June 28, after 2 alleged suicide bombers attacked the tactical command post of the 1st Brigade Combat Team in Barangay Kajatian, Indanan, Sulu. Panelo said authorities are suspecting the Abu Sayyaf group as responsible for the attack. He said the incident should teach government authorities to ensure preventive measures to avoid similar cases in the future. 3 Japanese defense vessels arrived at the East Rivera Wharf in SBMA Olongapo City on Sunday for a 3-day goodwill visit. According to the Philippine Navy officials, the Japanese Maritime Force was here for a series of confidence-building measures. Naval Installation Command Chief Commodore Adeluis Bordado said This visit underscores the continuing efforts of the Philippines and Japan to strengthen relationship between our governments and navies. This also promotes naval diplomacy, camaraderie, and goodwill with our Japanese Navy counterparts. The visiting warship's escort Flotilla 1 is composed of the helicopter destroyer and flagship JS Izumo and two destroyers, JS Murasame and JS Akebono. The first part of the pre-SONA Forum begins today with the economic cluster reporting on the achievements of the Duterte administration and the levels of Angat and La Mesa dams rises after monsoon rains. More on this and other news around the metro from Janice Cabe.
The Duterte administration launched today its first pre-SONA Forum at the PICC. The first of the three-part forum provides an update on the economic development cluster headed by Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez and the infrastructure development cluster headed by DPWH Secretary Mark Villar. The forum was set before President Rodrigo Duterte formally reports on the administration's achievements in his State of the Nation address on July 22. Meanwhile, Angat Dam's water level increased as of this morning by 1.28 meters above sea level, while La Mesa Dam is at 159.85 meters or just near its critical level of 160 meters. The recent monsoon rains slightly contributed to the increase in water level. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cabe.
Still to come, Malacanang says there is still hope to push for federalism within President Duterte's term. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency declares 5 municipalities in Aurora as drug-free. More on this when the PNA Newsroom continues.
We have come here to tell our stories. The truth about the situation of the indigenous peoples in the Philippines. And to seek your help in addressing our very serious problem, the scars of communist terrorism. We are here because the greatest weapon against deception is the truth. Nearly 1,000 of our brave leaders were killed simply because they did not follow what the communist terrorists wanted. Our women were raped. Our culture was subverted. Our resources were plundered. Our peaceful communities were destroyed, forcing us to seek refuge elsewhere. And our children have been brainwashed and molded to become child warriors, just like Magdalena and Awing Apuga.
On the night of December 30, 2016, our house was attacked by the communist terrorists with no less than 50 members. They brutally killed my father, my uncle, and my 17-year-old relative. As the youngest daughter, I never imagined this, that my father will expire through this inhuman act of the New People's Army or the communist terrorists. My father only led the community towards realizing the tribe's dream for a peaceful and developed ancestral domain, who gave the communist terrorists the right to kill a person or anybody else.
Despite President Rodrigo Duterte's admission to opt for pushing for federalism, Malacanang said there is still hope for a shift to a new system of government. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said that the chief executive still has 3 years left before the end of his term, so anything is possible. He pointed out that the problem between the two chambers of Congress is that they failed to agree on convening to a constituent assembly. He said the Congress should still open its doors to a constitutional convention. On June 26, Duterte said he will no longer insist on pushing for federalism but would still prefer to make changes in the 1987 Constitution but did not elaborate what he meant. President Duterte scored 9 out of 10 for his performance out of his first 3 years in office. The score is based on presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo's assessment on the president. During a radio interview on Sunday, Panelo said if the president's performance on the last 3 years would be graded, he would give the president 9 out of 10 rating. He cited the president's achievements, including signing of measures to improve Filipinos' lives, the move to an independent foreign policy, and developing Mindanao, among others. He, however, admitted there is still so much that needs to be done, including those that pertain to foreign investments, retail trade, and public service. He said there is also a need to monitor the Build infrastructure program, the creation of more rehabilitation centers, and closer attention to overseas Filipino workers and out-of-school youth. Panelo also pointed out that the president has stayed true to his promise of curbing corruption within government, as the president has been firing and prosecuting errant officials. 5 towns in Aurora province are declared drug-free. Meanwhile, a magnitude 4 earthquake hits the Moro Gulf. More on these and other news from the provinces from Janice Cave.
In Aurora province, 5 more municipalities are declared as drug-cleared and 3 others are expected to follow suit. The 5 drug-cleared municipalities are Dingalan, Dilasag, Dinalungan, San Luis, and Casiguran, while Maria Aurora, Tipaculao, and Baler are on the process of evaluation. According to PDEA, a total of 82% or 124 barangays are now drug-cleared, while 17.88% or 27 barangays are still affected. Meanwhile, a magnitude 4.0 earthquake jolted Moro Gulf on Sunday morning, affecting the provinces of Zamboanga del Sur, Lanao del Sur, and Maguindanao. According to Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, its epicenter is 65 kilometers east of Tabina, Zamboanga del Sur, with a depth of 12 kilometers. Intensity 2 was felt in Cotabato City and Intensity 1 in Kiamba, Sarangani. There were no reported casualties or damage to properties. In Davao City, the USS Montgomery makes its first port visit in the city. It arrived at Sasa Wharf on Saturday afternoon with 70 crew members, including 6 Filipino Americans. The port visit is said to strengthen cooperation in security issues as well as initiate exchange of cultural ideas. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
The 17th Philippine-Spanish Friendship Day was celebrated in Baler, Aurora on Sunday. The relation between the two countries is seen to become more dynamic and vibrant in the coming years. During the celebration, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who was a guest of honor, cited the strong ties between the countries, which started more than 100 years ago. He said the Spanish government has been generous to the Philippines through various project grants and official development assistance. He also noted the defense logistics cooperation between the Philippines and Spain, which was signed in 1996. Lorenzana said he is confident on a stronger and more dynamic partnership with Spain in the coming years, with the anticipated finalization of the Memorandum of Understanding on Logistics, Defense Material, Armaments, and Defense Industry Cooperation this September 2019. Homegrown fast food giant Jollibee Foods Corporation is expanding its footprint in Vietnam. Company management said they are planning to open 20 to 30 Jollibee stores a year in Vietnam, as well as 100 Highlands Coffee store per year. Jollibee Chief Executive Officer Ernesto Tan Man Chong on Friday said Vietnam's population of close to 95 million people offers a lot of opportunities as a fast-growing market. As of March 31, 2019, there are 421 Jollibee outlets in Vietnam, including subsidiaries Highlands Coffee, Pho 24, and Hard Rock Cafe. Up next, the government continues its relentless drive to stop child labor. Families in Bukidnon who were affected by Typhoon Chedeng received new homes. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Sana po sa mga kababayan natin, ng mga Pilipino na nandito, tulungan niyo po kami.
Ingon pa sa akong giingon ganiha. Pila pa ka kinabuhi ang among isakripisyo. O pila pa kadugo ang kailangan namo ibuwis para maundang ang tanan. Tao pod mi, nagakinahanglan magrespeto. Ang among kinabuhi karon ng anime is in danger. Pero why are we doing this? We are doing this not for ourselves, but for our tribe, for our community, for the entire indigenous peoples in the Philippines, for the next generation. Because I don't want the next generation to suffer what we have been through for the past 50 years. Hinaot nga kami matabangan. Daghan salamat.
Sa ako, first time na ako nadungog ang inyong story, bugat kayo, we didn't even know that you guys exist sa among kinabuhi. But it is nice, it's an eye-opener.
Nalalaman natin na yung mga baliktad pala yung pinalalabas na mga news about sa mga totoong nangyayari doon sa kanila. And we are so touched. In fact, we've been crying also while they were telling their stories kasi nakakaawa naman talaga.
Child labor remains one of the country's most urgent problems. The government says it is relentless in combating child labor in the country as well as transforming the lives of child laborers, their families, and communities. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III on Saturday said the government program includes giving target beneficiaries livelihood skills and opportunities. The labor chief made the comment on the sidelines of the celebration of the World Day Against Child Labor 2019 in Pasay City. He was reacting to the statement of labor groups that government should take more action against the illegal use of minors in various industries. DOLE says over 85,000 child laborers are profiled in 16 regions where more than 18,000 are referred to appropriate agencies for assistance. These families are provided with food carts and starter kits to begin their livelihood as well as skills training from TESDA. The government targets to reduce the cases of child labor by 30% or 630,000 from the estimated 2.1 million child laborers nationwide. In our foreign news, incumbent President Joko Widodo and his running mate Maruf Amin were declared winners of the April 17 presidential poll. Indonesia's General Election Commission made the official announcement in a national live television broadcast on Sunday. This comes after the country's constitutional court upheld the results of the presidential election, dismissing the claims of the losing candidates, former Army General Prabowo Subianto and his running mate Sandiaga Uno, that they were robbed of victory. In his speech after the declaration, Widodo says he is inviting Prabowo and Sandiaga to help build the nation. In response, Prabowo said that he had accepted the outcome but fell short of conceding defeat to Widodo. Nevertheless, they will still comply and respect the ruling of the Constitutional Court. Widodo and Amin is set to be sworn in on October 20. In sports, Barangay Ginebra starters played big to push back the Alaska Aces. They took the solo fifth spot in the PBA Commissioner's Cup on Sunday. Stanley Pringle went on the offensive with 27 points and 8 assists, while Justine Brownlee made a near triple-double with 27 points plus 14 rebounds and 8 assists. Joe Devance made his presence felt on defense with his 7 points and 5 rebounds. L.A. Tenorio and Japeth Aguilar scored 22 each. Pringle, who previously played for Northport Batang Pier, said team effort and support helped secure the win and improve his personal performance. Meanwhile, Colombian Jeep dragged its game against San Miguel Beer all the way to overtime to keep its hope to enter the playoffs alive. Lester Prosper scored 40 points on top of 13 rebounds to realize his first PBA win. Rookie sensation CJ Perez added 34 and 8, while Rashawn McCarthy chipped in 24 points and 14 assists for Colombian. In Bukidnon, 50 housing units were turned over last week to families affected by Typhoon Chedeng. Apipa Bagumbaran has the story.
Presidential Communications Operations Office Secretary Martin Andanar and Department of Social Welfare and Development Secretary Rolando Bautista turned over 50 housing units to families affected by Typhoon Chedeng in Barangay Iba, Cabanglasan Town in Bukidnon under the government's Poor Shelter Assistance Program. The turnover of the housing units as well as other government projects in Cabanglasan such as shared service facilities and comprehensive agrarian reform program of DTI, IP housing project of NHA, integrated livelihood program, and emergency employment program of DOLE, school building project of DepEd, and water system project of DILG, among others, highlighted the launching of the Convergence Areas for Peace and Development or CAPDEV of Northern Mindanao. CAPDEV, which takes on a whole-of-a-nation approach, is the banner program of the region to address the root causes of internal armed conflict and insurgency. Andanar, who is also designated as the Cabinet Officer for Regional Development and Security for Region 10, also presided the Joint Regional Development Council and Regional Peace and Order Council meeting at Malaybalay City, where he witnessed the awarding of checks totaling 1.25 million pesos to 24 rebel returnees under the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program or int'l. The two councils also approved the proposed structure, composition, and implementing mechanisms of the Regional Task Force to End Local Armed Communist Conflict or RTFL-CAC, which will operationalize President Duterte's Executive Order No. 70. Region 10 is the first region in Mindanao to launch a program and craft a framework in response to AO 70. For PNA Newsroom, Apipa Bagumbaran of Philippine Information Agency.
Tropical Depression Egay has weakened into a low-pressure area. In its 5 p.m. weather bulletin, Pag-asa said Egay weakened at 2 p.m. earlier today. The Weather Bureau expects this weather disturbance to dissipate in 24 to 48 hours. All cyclone and wind signals in affected areas have been lifted. However, the southwest monsoon will continue to bring light to moderate rains. Meantime, let's check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories.
Lumad leaders seek the help of the international community against the abuses of the CPP-NPA. Malacanang says there is still hope to push for federalism within President Duterte's term. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency declares 5 municipalities in Aurora as drug-free. And the government continues its relentless drive to stop child labor.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook or Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look at these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I am Miguel Hill. Good day.